What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty P here with an episode of Steelers Touch and Under. We're reviewing the Steelers' victory over the Bengals, 44-38. What a win. Season go 9-3 on the season, 75% winning record, puts the Bengals at 4-8. That's bye-bye Bengals season. Gone, unless they're going to win 5 on the trot, and I don't think that's going to happen because they've only won 4 games so far this season. But fantastic to see the Steelers win another game. That means they're now 2-1 over the course of the first 3 of their 6 divisional games that they obviously play each year, but in this case in 2024. That's pretty good. Now they go up again and go against the Browns, and then we've got another situation of AFC North football. But at least you've gone and got a victory away against the Bengals, and that puts you in good stead when you have the Bengals visit the Steelers in a few weeks' time. All right, so we did our 5 keys to victory. Remember what they were for those of you that caught that video. If you didn't, the 5 keys to victory were 3rd and 4th down efficiency, keeping Russ upright. So I said no more than 2 sacks. I said 3rd down and 4th down efficiency, 50% or better. We talked about scoring points. We scored about scoring points off touchdowns, particularly because of where the Steelers were sitting going into this game, 25th in passing TDs, and it was 16th in rushing TDs in the league. We also talked about the defense, getting some interceptions and getting more sacks. So did the Steelers do that? Did they deliver on the 5 keys to victory? All right, well, let's kick it off from the perspective of the team stats. Let's talk about 3rd down, 4th down efficiency. Well, the good news is the Steelers didn't have to go for it on 4th down. That's a big win. But they also are only 4 for 9. I said I wanted to see 50%. Look, 4.5 would be 50%. So they were just under the threshold required to hit the 50%, but they didn't have to do anything on 4th down, and it was pretty good. So did they deliver on the key to victory? Not exactly, because I said I wanted to see a 50% or greater, but it wasn't bad, and it was only like they didn't even, on terms of having to do 3rd down, it wasn't like they needed 7 from 16, which they got last week or 2 weeks earlier when they were playing Washington. So 4 for 9, not bad when you're being able to score points. So you got to take that down. They got to take that for what it is. In terms of sacks, there were 2 sacks for a total loss of 4 yards. That was a lot better in previous weeks, where since the bye we've seen 11 sacks, 3, 4, 4, and then they were all about between 22 and 24 yards. This time only 2 for 4. So I'm going to give that as a win to the O-line. I definitely am. They delivered on this key to victory for sure. Now, interceptions. We'll go back over to the player stats here. We'll go over to their player stats because that's how I want to cover this off. Steelers, no interceptions, apart from Dante Jackson. You thought I was going to forget it. No, Dante Jackson had that awesome interception. I actually thought he was going to run away with it for a lot more. But the bigger thing that I wanted to talk about was also the fumbles. The Steelers might have only had 1 interception. I said then we need to see them average like 1.3 a game. They didn't get 2 to get there. I said that's for the closing out the rest of the year. I want to see them get 1.3 a game. But when you are getting fumble receptions, that is going to be huge as well. So that was particularly awesome to see that from the Steelers, and to see them get that turnover, and then Peyton Wilson obviously running it back. Absolutely huge. So from my perspective there, really thrilled with the Steelers and getting the turnover games. I think they were plus 13 heading into the game, and they certainly delivered more turnovers. And so that's a key to victory. I know I wanted to see 2 interceptions, but I'll give it to the turnovers. They hit that key to victory. So right now, the Steelers are, if you're being generous, you could say 3 out of 3 for the keys to victory, or at least 2 out of 3. But we're going to talk about touchdowns. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. I talked about this. I talked about going into the game. They had 12 TDs on the year from a passing offense perspective and 1 interception. Right? Sorry, I lie. I said they had 3 interceptions. But that wasn't enough TDs. I said I was happy to see 2.5 to 1 or better. This, 3 TDs, 1 interception, is 2.5 to 1 or better. It's 3 to 1 or better. So they delivered on their touchdowns there. They also delivered because they had another rushing touchdown, which continues to get that ticking over. Now, I'm devastated if Jaylen Warren had scored a touchdown, passing or rushing. I had a multi-part, what we call the multis here, or parlay bet. I had 3 of them at a total cost of 20 Australian dollars to win me 3,600 Australian dollars. There was a 9-leg, a 12-leg, and an 11-leg. And the only thing that stumbled on all of them was the Jaylen Warren touchdown. So devastated. Jaylen, you could have made me a lot of money. I would have bought a jersey for you. Anyway, was what it was. You're not here to listen to that. But the touchdown perspective, I talked about that. I talked about the ability to score points. And this team did that this week. They absolutely, positively did that. I love that from this team. Now, the 5th key to victory that I talked about was sacking Joe Burrow because, and there was actually a technical glitch when I did the recording of the 5 keys to victory that missed out. The fact that the Steelers were getting sacked a lot, they needed to get back to getting sacks. And the Steelers did get sacks. They sacked Joe Burrow 4 times for 27 yards. 1 to Cameron Hayward, 2 to TJ Watt, 1 to Nick Herbig. Obviously, TJ Watt smacked the ball out as well, out of Joe Burrow's hands for the strip sack. Huge performance from this team to get back to 4 sacks, because at this rate, they weren't even going to get to 40 sacks. I think that's in a stat in the last week that said they would get to 36 sacks. I think they're now at 29. If they can continue this up, that's going to be really, really important for this team going forward. But you love to see it in an away game, AFC North football. I mean, whether look at the difference between playing in the snow on a Thursday night in Cleveland versus the Bengals a week and a bit later, I should say. Where it was clearly it was clearly cold, but at least it was, nice, sunny weather, for want of a better word. So they're the 5 keys to victory. The Steelers delivered on, you could probably give them a 4.5 if I don't give them the 3rd down, because 4.5 would have meant that they did hit them, because that would have been 50%. So many of them are 4.5 out of 5 for the keys to victory. Huge, huge game from Russ. Huge game from this offense. Huge game from the coaching staff that got them up for it. I love it. You can tell this team could have easily been 10-2, not just 9-3. This team is definitely playing good football at a time that matters, and they just have to keep doing it. The Eagles went out, obviously, and beat the Baltimore Ravens. That is going to be big for the Steelers in the next couple of weeks. They're going to have to go and do the same thing. But the Steelers are now in a position where if they play to their performance and they can beat the Browns, this team could be legitimately 14-3 or 13-4. 13-4 or better has got to be their goal moving forward. For the rest of the season. If they can do that, they're going to put themselves in really good stead for the playoffs. And it's a successful season, and it proves, as long as Russ stays healthy and he's scoring the points, I think you re-sign Russ on a 2-year deal, backloaded as well for the cap to go up. That's what I would do there. But huge from the Steelers to get this win. I absolutely loved it. I loved what we saw out of the Pittsburgh defense. Deshaun Elliott continues to play well. Patrick Queen keeps coming into his own. Minka was in there doing his thing. Cam Hayward absolutely just smashed Chase Brown. Chase Brown I have in fantasy. That's not a hard thing. That's not an easy thing to do. Sorry, he's done a lot. But the big thing as well about the Steelers win, they're now 9-3. Baltimore 8-5. The Steelers are starting to put some headway between them and the rest of the AFC North. And that's why it's crucial they go out and beat the Browns. Because if they can finish 4-2 or better in this division, then they only have to win either that Kansas game or that Eagles game, and they can finish with a +13 win record. But they can win the AFC North. But if they just go out and win the next 2 of the divisional games, they will win this AFC North. And how exciting would that be with all the crap that we saw at the start of the season, all the stuff about Baltimore, and look at where it's sitting. So if the Steelers can go away, they can beat Cleveland, then at home, they can beat Baltimore away. Come the last game against Cincy, who knows? And if they can genuinely beat the Chiefs, and if I still think that the Bills will drop 1 or 2, this team actually AFC 1 seed. You know what? You never know what's going to happen between now and the end of the season. Is all I'm going to say. Obviously, KC. It's going to be hard when they're 11-1, but you just never know what's going to happen by the time the Steelers get there. If they don't drop another game until they get to Kansas City, Kansas City only dropped 1-1. The Steelers beat them at home on Christmas Day. Christmas miracle. Imagine if the Steelers got the first week of the playoffs at home. We talk about winning a playoff game. You can't lose, at least. You can't win, technically, but you can't lose if you don't play in the first week of the playoffs. But look, we're getting way ahead of ourselves now. Good win from the Steelers. Let me know in the comments what you thought. As always,